So this awkward beast is a Phidget, which is spelled Phigit, which is a kit that you can build electronics with that respond to programs that you can code. You need to connect it to some kind of a computer, and the computer runs a program, and the Phidget has sensors and a hub and some switches, and it's got some LEDs, so it can you can build projects with it using the electronics, and you can run programs to run the electronics. So it's kind of cool. So what I decided to do was connect it to a Raspberry Pi so that I could not have to have it connected to a laptop or a desktop, and I could carry it around. And so this is the first version of my attempt to get this thing mobile. It's kind of a beast because I'm still using these long cables. I guess I could use some shorter cables for some of these things, but I just want to go through the components that I needed to use in order to get this to work. So this box right here is the Phidget. It's kind of cool. There's a company that makes them, and I'll show you the insides. All this thing is still running, and then I'll tell you what it's running. But so the inside has the thing that runs these couple of switches, and then the two LEDs. They're all wired into a hub in there, and the hub is what allows you to address the different parts of the different sensors and devices. So there are 5 things connected to that hub right now, 5 different things that do work. There's the 2 buttons here, so that's 2. There's 2 LEDs, that's 4. And then there's this really cool thing, which is a humidity and temperature sensor. And that's what this project is doing right now. It's sensing the humidity and the temperature in this room. So when you've got it connected to a computer, this cable here is a USB cable, and that you plug that into your computer, and then you program this thing, and the program that you write would get data from this, and it might flash the lights, or you might use the switches for some project, but you could print to the screen, for example, the temperature and the humidity. So instead of having this connected to a computer, I have this connected to a Raspberry Pi Zero, which is like a Raspberry Pi is a very small computer that's cheap that you can use to build projects with. But a Raspberry Pi Zero is an even smaller version of that kind of computer. The computer's inside there, inside this little box. It's tiny. It's just one little board, but it is a full computer running an operating system that you can use to run word processing programs and surf the internet and stuff. The only thing is, because it's really small, it's built to be really efficient with power, which is great because because it's not plugged into the wall. So I'm running it off of this phone charger, and it's been running for hours because I've had to write this program, and before I wrote the program, I had to get the environment built that could allow me to use the libraries for the Phidget on this. So you download the code for the libraries, and then you have to go through a process to build it. Now, the people who make the kit actually provide you with scripts and stuff that you can run so that you can build all the libraries necessary to run the software on a Raspberry Pi, which is nice, really nice. So that's a lot of work I didn't have to do. But the Raspberry Pi had to do a bunch of work because it had to compile all those libraries, and I'm assuming that because the Pi Zero is such a low power consumption computer, it's also very slow. It's possible I can change that in the settings, but then that would also change how much power this thing uses. So right now it's in a state where it uses very little power, and the consequence is that it will run for a long time. You can see, even though I've been running this for hours, I don't know how many. I don't know what the capacity of this is. I don't know if it says on it, but in any case, let's see. This is a pretty decent capacity charger, phone charger, and it was almost fully charged. And even after running this for a few hours, the thing still has more than half a charge left on it, which is great. I don't need to have this USB splitter, technically speaking, but a side effect of this, I guess the way this setup is working, is that without doing things to force the Pi Zero to run the program on startup, so headless, without using a screen, without the ability to do that, and I haven't set it up to do that, I needed a screen and a keyboard and a mouse in order to write the program and then run the program. So once you've written the program, I suppose you can add some kind of a script to the startup of the device and have it start running the program as soon as it starts up. So you could plug the power into this thing, plug all the things in, and then it would just start up and run the program. But what I did, and that's one of the reasons I have this USB thing connected to it, is one of the things I did was I plugged the keyboard and a mouse in here, plugged this into a monitor, got everything running, and then once the program was running, I unplugged it from the monitor. The monitor plugs in here. I unplugged that, unplugged the keyboard and the mouse, and then I went walking around with it. So let's talk about what it's actually doing. What it's doing right now is it's flashing these lights because there's no screen. So because there's no screen attached to this thing, the only way to get information out of it is through the LEDs. So what I did was I programmed the LEDs. This LED will report the humidity, the relative humidity, and this LED reports the temperature in Celsius. So how does it work? So when this LED blinks, first it will make some slow blinks, and that will be the tens place of the relative humidity percentage. And then the fast blinks will be the ones place of the relative humidity percentage. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So that's 42% relative humidity. And then this is the temperature, the green one, in Celsius. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 25 degrees Celsius. So the first time I wrote the program for this and thought it was successful and unplugged it from the computer and went walking, I realized that the temperature wasn't changing and the humidity wasn't changing when I walked around the house. And then I realized that the reason it wasn't changing was because I didn't do a sensor update in the loop that was running the display. So it was measuring the temperature and relative humidity once, and then it was repeating over and over again, just telling me that temperature and humidity reading no matter where I went. So it was not sensitive to updates. So what I'd like to do is put this thing close to the air conditioner and watch the temperature, see if the temperature drops. So here's the sensor here. So I put this in front of my air conditioner, and it's close enough that I think I can pull it over there without carrying all this junk. We can watch this light change, lights blinking change. So right now, let's just check it one more time. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it's 25 degrees. So let's go closer to the air conditioner with the sensor and see what happens, and hope this thing doesn't fall apart as I'm carrying it. So, okay, looks like I can get close. So let's put it there. Okay, 2. It's not dropping. It's still saying 25. One, two, 3. Now it's dropped to 23 degrees Celsius. Now it's 22 degrees Celsius. Ah, 20 degrees Celsius. It doesn't blink when it's 0. What's the relative humidity? It should be lower humidity than it was before. 1, 2. Say, is that 45? What was it before? Has it not dropped? Was that 37? 2, 3. 51%. Okay. I'm not sure what the relative humidity is doing, but the temperature definitely dropped. We got 1, 2, 1. So it got down to 15 degrees Celsius. Is that what that's telling me? Yeah. Anyway, so it clearly changes, so it's working. And that's how I got my Phidget to be mobile.